Aloha and welcome. Thank you for participating in this annual environmental training for the State of Hawaii Department of Transportation Airports, henceforth referred to as DOTA. The DOTA environmental section, known as Air EE, is a component of the DOTA engineering branch and oversees environmental compliance at all 15 state airports across the islands. Please be sure to complete the annual Environmental Tenant Training Survey after viewing this training. The survey can be found on the airport environmental website at the link provided within this training video. If supervisors provide the training to their employees, please fill out the training roster sign-in sheet and submit it to your Airport Environmental Health Specialist, or EHS. This roster can be found on the same webpage. Airport tenants have an important role to protect the environment during airport operations, and all tenants must comply with environmental regulations. This training provides general guidance and understanding of the various airports' environmental requirements. The DOTA's Environmental Compliance Program webpage houses many helpful resources for airport tenants and facilities. Pay close attention to the Best Management Practice BMP Field Manual for operations at state Hawaii airports and the Tenant Inspection and Enforcement Manual documents. These helpful manuals have been prepared to help guide your daily operations in a manner that meet environmental requirements. Stormwater runoff can pick up harmful pollutants and deposit them into soil, groundwater, drainage systems, streams, and the ocean. In order to prevent stormwater pollution, there are two types of regulatory stormwater programs that DOTA and its tenants must comply with: the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDS permit program, and the Underground Injection Control, or UIC permit program. Different types of harmful pollutants include bacteria, pesticides and fertilizer, oil, fuel, and other maintenance fluids, soil and/or dirt, and litter. Various stormwater discharges are covered under NPDS regulations. The United States Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, has delegated authority to the State of Hawaii's Department of Health Clean Water Branch, or DOHCWB, for administrating the NPDS program. NPDS is a requirement of the Clean Water Act, as well as Hawaii Administrative Rules. HNL and OGG airports are covered under the Small Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, or MS4, NPDS General Permit, which regulates discharge from stormwater runoff airport-wide. These MS4s consist of a system of storm drains and conveyances to collect and discharge stormwater runoff directly to the waters of the U.S. and state waters such as the ocean and streams. The requirements for the permit coverage are detailed in the HNL and OGG stormwater management plans. The stormwater management plans detail how DOTA will comply with the regulations and measurable goals used to ensure compliance, which includes DOTA inspections of tenant operations. Only HNL, OGG, and LIH airports are covered under the NPDS Multi-Section General Permit, or MSGP, which regulates stormwater runoff from industrial activities such as fueling, washing, and maintenance activities conducted at DOTA facilities and airport common use areas, including ramps, gates, and hard stands. Additionally, due to high turnover, the DOTA permits also cover general aviation tie-downs, but do not include helicopter industrial operations. Tenant facilities at HNL, OGG, and LIH that operate under applicable industrial Standard Industrial Classification, or SIC codes, are required to obtain their own coverage under the NPDS MSGP unless the industrial activities and materials are not exposed to stormwater and they qualify for a CNEE. Tenants are required to comply with their DOH-issued NPDS permit requirements, including but not limited to developing and maintaining a facility-specific stormwater pollution prevention plan written by a qualified environmental professional. Tenants at HNL, OGG, and LIH must also complete the tenant agreement for compliance with state airport drainage system and submit the completed agreement to AIR-EE. Please keep in mind that these agreements must be kept on file and are also uploaded into VOC along with NPDES and CNEE applications, permits, and approvals. The UIC program is regulated by the DOH Safe Drinking Water Branch and is required by law under the Safe Drinking Water Act. The program serves to protect the quality of Hawaii's underground sources of drinking water from pollutants. There are two types of UIC permits, for stormwater and wastewater. DOTA manages UIC drainage permits for UIC wells outside of tenant leased areas and is required to inspect UIC drainage wells, require that BMPs are followed to prevent non-stormwater discharges, and to report illicit discharges to the DOH SDWB. Tenants that have UICs on their leased spaces are required to obtain a UIC permit for either stormwater or wastewater, and required to follow all permit requirements. Additional tenant requirements that may be applicable to your facility must be current and available for review upon request. Tenants must follow all requirements listed in their permits and approvals, such as inspection records, testing and training, and be able to provide documentation of these to AIR-EE upon request. These additional requirements can include the following. Tenant improvement projects. Tips. DOTA requires that all construction activities on tenant spaces, even if no ground disturbance is occurring, must go through the tip review process at each airport district office and be approved prior to work being conducted. AIR-EE will receive the package from the district offices and ensure the proper environmental approvals and permits are obtained with regulatory agencies, UIC, IWS, NPDES, tank permitting, etc. Additionally, AIR-EE checks for unknown contamination for projects involving ground disturbance, which has additional requirements that need to be met. It should be noted that DOTA does not allow for new installations of USTs or cesspools, including replacements of existing units. All currently installed USTs and cesspools will eventually need to be removed. Section 2 will cover Best Management Practices, or BMPs. The most effective way to control pollutants is by implementing BMPs. BMPs are maintenance procedures, management practices, and preventative measures used to prevent or reduce pollution to the maximum extent practicable to stormwater, soil, and/or groundwater. How do you know which BMPs to select? First, consider all activities conducted at your facility that may affect stormwater runoff or that could pollute soil or groundwater. Second, identify all waterways and drain inlets in or adjacent to your work area. This will allow you to protect drains and implement appropriate BMPs. The following references include the most common BMPs that AIR-EE observes during inspections. All tenants should refer to the BMP manual on the DOTA website for the full list of BMPs required. Good housekeeping BMPs are applicable to all airport operations and tenant spaces. Keeping your workplace clean limits your potential to release pollutants. The photos on the following slides show examples of correct good housekeeping BMPs and those that are incorrect. Ensure dumpster and trash can lids are closed when not in use, and routinely pick up trash around your space and properly dispose of it. This includes trash that did not originate from your operations but might have blown onto your space. Keeping spill kits readily available and easily accessible. Clean up spills and/or leaks immediately. Sweep. Never hose down debris. Perform regular maintenance of OWS. Do not park over inlets. Aircraft, vehicle, and GSE maintenance and repair BMPs prevent spills and leaks from disrepair or from maintenance operations. Conduct regular aircraft, vehicle, and equipment inspections to check for leaks and repair as necessary. If a leak cannot be repaired immediately, use a drip pan of sufficient capacity to contain the leaking fluid and dispose of any accumulated fluids properly. It is required that drip pans, especially those used outdoors, are regularly cleaned to remove any liquid accumulation. Daily records are required for drip pans that are placed under aircraft, vehicles, or equipment outdoors. Store used or damaged batteries under cover in secondary containment. Salvage equipment, vehicles, or aircraft. Remove fluids and batteries and properly dispose. If rusting is observed, properly dispose and store inside or under cover until disposal can be completed. Perform all auto body activities indoors or under cover within an approved paint booth, auto repair shop, or auto body shop. The following slides will go over aircraft, vehicle, and equipment washing BMPs. DOTA has designated wash racks and wash areas at HNL, HDH, JRF, KOA, ITO, OGG, MKK, and LNY, which are all demarcated and include signage. Fact sheets for the wash areas can be found on the DOTA environmental webpage by navigating to specific airport pages. The fact sheets detail what types of equipment, vehicles, and/or aircraft that can be washed at these DOTA designated areas. Outside of the DOTA wash racks or areas, washing activities should only be conducted at a tenant facility where wash water can either be contained and properly disposed of or discharged to an OWS that is connected to the sanitary sewer system. BMPs required for washing in all areas include the following. Use biodegradable soaps and detergents and avoid overspray. Where applicable, use dry methods to wash aircraft, vehicles, and equipment. Do not conduct pressure washing or any other activity besides washing at wash racks. The purpose of fueling BMPs are to prevent accidental spills or discharges from fueling operations, transfer, and storage. The following BMPs are required for fueling operations. Fueling activities should always be conducted away from storm drain inlets, permeable ground, and surface water bodies. Ensure there are appropriately sized spill kits available on mobile refuelers, at fuel pumps, and at fuel storage locations, and that they can be easily accessed. Check fueling equipment, pumps, nozzles, and fuel storage containers and tanks for cracks or other faults regularly, and remain vigilant when fueling for quick action to stop and contain a spill if it occurs. Ensure containment devices or diversion methods, i.e. safe drains, drain mats, sump valves, etc., are properly implemented during fuel transfer to tanks. Mobile refueler trucks and mobile storage tanks, including tanks on trailers that are 500 gallons or larger and have fittings, valves, connectors, and/or fuel sumps situated on the bottom or sides of the tanks, must be situated within secondary containment when parked unattended or overnight. The secondary containment must be able to hold the full contents of the tank. Routinely monitor secondary containment measures for accumulated rainwater or product, since a partially filled secondary containment measure can no longer contain a full release. If rainwater accumulates within the containment, it can only be discharged if there are no contaminants present, and discharges must be recorded in a log. Please note that if any product is present in the secondary containment, it must not be discharged and is required to be cleaned according to the spill response procedures. Some facility operations require products and materials that have potential to adversely affect soil, groundwater, stormwater, and water quality if they are discharged. Materials and waste cannot be stored in the common use areas of the AOA. All liquid storage containers, regardless of size, must be properly labeled and within containers suitable for the material being stored. Containers must have covers or lids that are closed. If a container is empty, it must be labeled empty or signage posted indicating containers are empty. Liquid storage containers less than 25 gallons do not need secondary containment if stored indoors. If stored outside, containers must be under cover and stored within secondary containment. Secondary containment is required for liquid containers with capacity 25 gallons or more, including parts washers, whether stored indoor or outside under cover. The secondary containment for liquid materials should be adequate to hold 100% of the volume of the largest container plus freeboard in the event of a spill and be compatible with the substance being stored. Reactive, ignitable, or flammable materials shall be stored in flammable storage lockers. Used tires and metals that are stored outside must be placed on dunnage and covered, when practicable, to prevent storm water run-on and run-off. Pesticides, such as herbicides and insecticides, are used to control weeds and harmful organisms in areas at the facility. These products are harmful if discharged into the storm drainage system, as they can also kill aquatic species and impact water quality. Natural product alternatives should be used whenever possible. Fertilizer, pesticide, and herbicide application should not be conducted during inclement weather or applied within 6 feet of DOTA MS4 drainage system and state waters, or on slopes greater than a 3-to-1 ratio. Use fertilizers and pesticides only where needed in amounts or rates per the manufacturer's recommendations. Do not over-apply. When transferring or mixing fertilizers and pesticides, do so on impervious surfaces or over secondary containment and clean up any leaks and/or spills immediately. Employee training should be done at a minimum annually or as required. Follow all applicable rules and laws. Refer to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, Plant Industry Division, Pesticide Branch for more information on the following. Solid and hazardous waste storage and disposal is a broad topic and may be enforced under many regulations. Tenants should be aware of regulations related to solid and hazardous waste storage at your facility. The list provided here are only common BMPs that might be applied. Use the entire product prior to disposal. Retain the original label and/or safety data sheet. Designate a waste storage collection area and monitor regularly for releases. Waste oil-based paint and paint thinner is considered hazardous waste and must be treated as such. Leftover latex or water-based paint can be dried out in the original containers, then placed into the regular trash. Determine if your facility conducts treatment, storage, or disposal of regulated hazardous waste, and if you require a RCRA hazardous waste permit, and what category you fall under, by referring to the EPA website shown. It is the responsibility of the hazardous waste generator to make a hazardous waste determination and store, label, and dispose of the waste properly. Disposal requires a licensed hazardous waste contractor. Do not mix liquids. When other liquids, such as solvents, steering fluid, coolant, or brake fluid, are mixed into used oil, motor oil, the liquid becomes waste oil. Waste oil must be classified as a hazardous waste and must be properly disposed of by a certified licensed hazardous waste contractor. Used oil on its own is not a hazardous waste. Remove used oil by a licensed used oil contractor and retain records of disposal. Universal wastes Designated storage area within containment and labeled with the following information: the words universal waste, waste type, accumulation start date. These items must be recycled within 1 year, and disposal documentation should be retained. Broken lamps or leaking batteries must be handled as hazardous waste. Universal wastes are under 5 categories. 1. Batteries. 2. Lamps. 3. Pesticides. 4. Aerosol cans. And 5. Mercury-containing equipment. The following slides will cover post-construction BMPs. Post-construction best management practices, or PBMPs, are BMPs that retain stormwater on site, control potential pollutants, and/or treat stormwater that enters the drainage system. DOTA is responsible for maintaining DOTA-owned and operated PBMPs. Tenants are responsible for PBMPs located at their facility. If your facility has a PBMP, you are responsible for maintenance, conducting annual inspections, and performing maintenance per manufacturer's specifications to ensure proper function of the PBMP. Example PBMP inspection and maintenance forms can be found on the AREE website. Many facilities are equipped with oil water separators, or OWS, to separate oils from wastewater. The OWS must be inspected at least annually, maintained, and cleaned per manufacturer specifications. OWS maintenance and waste disposal logs must be kept on site and will be subject for review by airport inspectors. For Oahu Airport facilities, OWS connected to CCH sewer system must maintain an IWDP issued by CCH. Facilities that engage in the servicing of aircraft may also need to implement triturator usage BMPs. See airport-specific triturator fact sheets on the environmental webpage. In general, when handling lavatory waste, operators should ensure that hose connections are secured and not leaking. Utilize secondary containment to capture any leaks or drippage from access fittings. Operators are not permitted to wash the exterior of the truck at the triturator station. If a spill does occur while at the triturator, ensure that it is cleaned promptly. Spills may be cleaned using disinfectant rags and/or broom. Please ensure that kitty litter or bleach is not used to clean the lavatory waste spills at the triturator, as it may cause system damage. Section 3 will cover spill response procedures and the tenant inspection process. Spills and leaks are the most common way that pollutants are discharged from a facility or airport operations to the storm drainage systems, surface water bodies, and to soil and groundwater. Employees and fuel delivery contractors working at your facility should be well trained in preventing and responding to spills that may occur. Training should include prevention and cleanup procedures, including protecting storm drains. Consider running a practice scenario or drill to ensure that employees are prepared for potential spills and adequate response. As mentioned previously, every facility must have a spill kit that is appropriately sized for spills that could occur, labeled, and easily accessible. It is recommended to include spill response information for the products you use in your facility's spill kits to provide information on how spills should be cleaned and disposed of during an incident. Each facility should comply with state and federal health and safety requirements and should have appropriate personal protection equipment, or PPE, and training for workers to clean up spills. Post emergency phone numbers for employees to easily reference. Every facility should have a designated person who will ensure that spills are properly cleaned and complete the necessary notifications. When a spill occurs at your facility, stop work and shut down your equipment. Attempt to determine the source of the spill. If the spill is from a drum, you may be able to patch the drum or transfer the drum's contents to stop the flow of the spill. If the spill is coming from larger equipment, such as a fuel tank, you may be able to hit the emergency shutoff button to stop the flow of the spill. Shutting off vehicle engines will prevent ignition of the material. Alert those in the immediate vicinity of the spill. Determine whether the spill is within your means to clean. If you have trained personnel and observant, then begin the spill cleanup. If not, ensure that a spill response contractor is promptly notified and storm drains are protected until cleanup is completed. If the area becomes unsafe, evacuate if necessary. Please review DOTA Sewerage Spill Cleanup Procedure Fact Sheet. Dark and deep staining occurs over time due to the lack of cleaning leaks or drips of oil over time. Deep staining usually requires professional cleaning, which can be much more costly than cleaning a leak immediately with absorbent material. Stains with sheen be cleaned immediately for both DOTA and the HERE office. Inspecting equipment, vehicles, and aircraft regularly extends the life of your equipment and prevents potential leaks. If the drip pans are used outdoors, DOTA requires daily logs to reduce the potential of overfill. Illicit discharge is defined by the EPA under 40 CFR 122 as any discharge to an MS4 drainage system, drainage wells such as UIC wells, or state waters that is not composed entirely of stormwater, except those activities authorized by NPDES permit. Illicit discharges require additional regulatory notifications which are listed in the airport spill reporting fact sheets. All spills and leaks must be reported immediately to airport personnel listed on the spill reporting fact sheets. Please review the list on this page for phone numbers at the airports. All spills and leaks must also be reported to DOTA using the VOC spill reporting form and must be reported within 24 hours of the spill. The DOTA spill reporting form can be found on DOTA AirEE website or on the spill reporting fact sheet for your airport. DOTA and agencies outside DOTA, such as DOH, LEPC, etc., may need to be notified for the following reportable spills. For petroleum spills, the reportable quantity is 25 gallons or more. Spills of any size of petroleum not cleaned within 72 hours. Spills that enter a surface water body or storm drain inlet. And wastewater spills that enter state waters and/or are 1,000 gallons or more. DOTA and its consultants conduct environmental compliance inspections of industrial and commercial tenant facilities in accordance with the Tenant Inspection and Enforcement Manual. Inspections may identify deficiencies requiring corrective actions, and the deficiencies will be documented in an inspection report with a timeline to complete corrective actions. This also serves as a written warning. The tenant, with justification, may request an extension of time to provide these corrective actions. DOTA may grant extensions based on the merit of each individual request. However, extensions will not be granted for deficiencies that require immediate attention, such as a leak or spill, or that can be corrected quickly and easily, such as labeling containers. The inspector may choose to conduct a follow-up inspection as needed. DOTA reserves the right to conduct random inspections or more frequent inspections if needed. If the deficiency or violation is resolved within the deadline or approved extension of time, the enforcement will be closed. If the tenant does not provide corrective action by the deadline, original or extended, DOTA will escalate enforcement. Enforcement can range from a warning up to termination of lease if compliance is not reached. Additionally, local, state, and federal agencies such as EPA or DOH may conduct their own inspections or audits of DOTA's permit programs or plans, or tenant facility permits and plans, and will complete their own enforcement actions, which can include fines. Tenants are required to comply with all environmental rules and regulations as outlined in their lease agreements, revocable permits, or concessionaires agreements. Together, we can protect the environment during our day-to-day activities at the airport. Implementing protective stormwater measures at our airports not only allows us to abide with regulatory requirements, avoid enforcement or fines, but most importantly, protects the land and water we rely on. We all have a responsibility to be effective stewards and protect our Ainanbai and preserve Hawaii's unique beauty and ecology so we can all continue to enjoy our favorite activities like swimming, surfing, fishing, snorkeling, or just relaxing on our beautiful beaches. Visitors from across the globe come to our Aina for the same reason, and the airports are the very gateway onto our Aina. It is our job to protect our ocean as well as the aquatic life and ecosystems within it for generations to come. Thank you for viewing this presentation. Please complete the brief survey and roster. If you have any questions related to this presentation, please contact AIR EE. Note that this environmental compliance training must be completed every calendar year. Mahalo again for watching the Tenant Environmental Compliance Training video.